All right, Steve Says Boom fans. First things first, I guess an explanation is required as for where I've been, why the Steve Says Boom YouTube channel has been so quiet. Um, in typical Steve fashion, um, I don't seem to get along with technology. And so for about a year, I kept hearing, oh, you've got to switch to the iPhone. Well, the iPhone, everything's going to be beautiful. To cut a long story short, to date, I have been unable to communicate with YouTube via my iPhone. It doesn't recognize me, keeps sending me an error message, and even the best minds in the world are confused by what they're seeing. So, yeah, I'm filming this on my Android, and I'm going to upload it on my Android because it's just a couple of buttons, push, press, poof, up it goes. Thank you, no problems. My little old Samsung. So even though I have $1,000 phone, can't communicate with YouTube. All right, that being said, hopefully that will explain where I've been. Sort of an update here. About 5 months ago, maybe 6, I was contemplating a big change. And that was to just stop reading new issues completely and move on. As the Marvel Universe has moved on without me, and I doesn't seem to have my interest anymore. I held back. I sort of chickened out a little bit on that decision. But here's the news. Last week, I negotiated the sale of all my books from the year 2000 through to 2020 up to today. Strange decision. There was nothing really in there that in that 20-year period at Marvel that really engaged me. That sounds amazing, doesn't it? 20 years worth. All those stories. But I realized I was just sort of holding on to the past. I was always hoping and wishing that I could recapture something that I had in the 1990s and in the 1980s. And, I tried to keep an open mind. I tried to read certain titles, tried to read certain characters, but I don't know whether it's a combination of the new writers and, not being able to, please me or excite me. The artists can still do a great job. The coloring is fantastic. It's far better than it used to be. Just wasn't being engaged. But I was still just buying away, collecting without reading runs of stuff. Because I was like, well, I can't give up. I've got all these Marvels. I just can't give up the title. And then I decided to try and read a couple of the issues. Like, well, come on. You can't just buy and not read. And I found the stories, for me, to be totally uninteresting. And there was always something that annoyed me. Some item of continuity that would be like, what? Didn't they read this issue, from 1988? Some of the story content, to me, is rather boring these days. Some of the subjects that modern writers seem to dwell on and love to write about, interject into their stories, I find inane and will just put me to sleep and will take me out of the story. Certain superstars of today will be, halfway through a story and a huge plot point that they're using. I'm like, but that goes against everything that's been going for the last 25 years. And it'll pull me out of the story. So, I had a decision to make. Shall I just continue to be disappointed? Will I continue to wait for some comic messiah, someone that could come along and hit my buttons? Or should I just let it go? So, as a 1-2 punch, when I decided to sell those books, which is a lot of books, it's like 80 short boxes of books, 20 years worth of material. Seems to go hand in hand with my decision to just stop. I did try. I was trying to read the Donny Cates Thor with the big story with, the Herald and then Galactus. And then I have to admit, just didn't do anything for me. And that's supposedly the height. I have no interest in the X-Men. I don't care about Hickman. I don't care about all that stuff. The new characters that are appearing these days, I have no interest in, and I'm not interested in little kids. I'm specifically not interested in little teenage girls. Why would I, as a 50-year-old man, read about 12 to 13-year-old girls? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, sort of a momentous decision that was made. It was very weird to put those books on a pallet and then push them off to someone else. It was the strangest thing. But I did test myself. I wondered. I was like, wow, I wonder if this is true for books from the 1990s. Have they lost their luster as well for me? So I went back and looked at a couple of issues. I still love those issues. And I'm sort of curious. I'm wondering if anyone else out there who, of a certain age, has hit the same point in their reading life as me. I'm also fully aware that most readers were a little bit more diverse than me. And a lot of readers who were either DC or Marvel, or maybe even both, when they grew tired of that material, they segued off into independent and non-superhero type stories, which I did. I've tried, and I have no interest in reading non-superhero comics. It's just the strangest thing. I was never able to read The Walking Dead or some other weird title that's non-superhero-y, whereas a lot of my friends and acquaintances of my age would transition and they'd say, oh, I left the Marvel Universe 10 years ago, Steve. Yeah, I'm reading Snot Girl. Okay. I'm reading Zombie Tramp. No interest in there for me either. So I'm entering a brand new phase here where I'm not going to be taking any attention to new material. I look at the previews, the Marvel previews when it comes out, and I take a look at the new stuff. I flip right to the back where it showcases the reprints, the hardcovers that are being done from the old days. I'm like, oh, I got to get that. Currently, I think this is one of the last books that I picked up. I've had it for a while. King in Black. Still here. I just have had no inclination to read it. And I hate this post. This is such a negative and down post. But I wanted to share it with you, let you know. I'd like some, especially my Steve Says Boom fans, give me some feedback. I know some of you guys out there may be approaching my age. You are. Now, I am not disparaging the modern product for others at all. And as I said before, I love it when I hear a new reader coming in and they are expounding and oh, this is fantastic. I love this. I love that. Boom, I'm going to get this variant. I love their fire because I can see a younger version of myself in those collectors, those readers. And for me, I just want, the Marvel and DC universe to thrive and continue to get this new audience. It's just not going to continue with me. Sometimes my interest is piqued. I always ask people, especially who are reading DC, hey, what are you doing? Are you having a good time? Was there anything engaging you? What did you think of the Three Jokers? But anyway, I'm not going to belabor too long. This isn't the most magnificent thing in the world, and I don't want to put you guys to sleep. So I covered the reason why we've had this little gap. We've had this technological gap. At some point, maybe I will have the ghost of Steve Jobs come down and fix my iPhone so that I can communicate with the YouTube channel. But until then, I'll just have to keep using my Samsung. I still love my back issues. I still love that history. But as for modern stories, content, creators, good luck, guys. Form.